Hello and welcome back to the StoreHero podcast. Today we're joined by Tom Rozee from Rozee Digital. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Really great to have you on board. I suppose usually what we get to people to do here is to come on, give us a bit of info, who you are, what you do, where you're based.
Sure. So as you know, I'm Tom, based in Woking, Surrey. We are an e-commerce growth agency. I've been running this now for 5 years, and I've been doing online marketing now since 2016. So yeah, our goal is to really just grow e-commerce brands. We probably work with brands at around 50 to 250,000 per month. We're looking to get to that 500,000, 1 million per month mark. That's a real goal. We do that by using a customer generation system. So we formulated a system to really help brands to understand their numbers, get profitable on front end acquisition, and then make sure we maximize the lifetime value of those customers that we acquired by creating creatives that cut through the noise, that deeply resonates with different audiences to help brands scale.
Great. Lots to unpack there. So are you mainly dealing with UK clients or is it all over the world? Be also interested to hear, obviously you're kind of an e-commerce growth agency. Is everybody on Shopify or is there a bit of a split amongst other platforms as well?
So we work with UK and US companies. We have worked with Australian companies before. The only issue that can be the time zone difference, but most of our clients are UK or US and all on Shopify really. We've never really worked with Magento before. We worked with a client back in the days on Shopwired, I think, but all our clients right now are on Shopify. So I think Shopify is the leading platform. We have never really spoken to anyone on Magento or anything like that. So yeah,
You're better off.
it's always Shopify, which I think is the most important thing. 'Cause it's just such an easy platform to connect tools, to connect apps, to just get everything up and ready. And just, yeah, I think it's the best platform out there for e-commerce.
Brilliant. So what you look after you mentioned the creatives there along with running paid ads. I think before we touched on you came on there, you said you guys operate in email as well.
So we have like a different package. We do like ads and email, or ads, email, and creatives. So our customer generation system, we do the whole thing for our clients. So the reason why is it's just easy for the client to just say, hey, grow my store, and we just basically understand their messaging, their audience, and then we just go out and do everything for them, getting all the creators, making the creators, testing the creators, scaling them up, and then making sure all the clients or customers that we acquire for them, we're using email marketing to maximize it. So it really depends on clients' needs. Some clients have their own internal team where we just give them our SOPs and they just follow the SOPs because we need to make sure they are providing us assets for success. And then some clients, we just do paid ads for them, but we're trying to obviously say like, hey, we need creatives to get the results. So we're trying to slowly offer our clients on paid ads, do the ads for them or assist them in some way to make sure we get the best creators possible so we can scale them up.
Okay, interesting. I suppose we have quite a broad data set now with stores all over the world of all kind of shapes, sizes, geographies, industries, that kind of thing. April specifically, probably March a little bit as well. Meta, I suppose Meta's been quite volatile. Are you seeing that with your own client base as well?
Yep, Meta's been very volatile. The weird thing I always see in our accounts is one week some clients will be doing well and some clients will be doing bad, and the next week it's just vice versa. Don't know why. It's very confusing, very painful, but all we're doing is we're just sticking to our methodologies. And that's just testing new creatives, new copies, new landers weekly, and just keep making sure what we're doing. Landers, not so much. That's probably bi-weekly or monthly. But in terms of creators, we're always testing new creators and copy weekly, just because even though Meta's been volatile, we still have to do the fundamentals of making sure our ads are deeply resonating to our clients, customers, and making sure we're hitting on the desires. So yeah, Facebook's been a bit volatile, but we just make sure we do the same practice every single week, and then we look at the back end on StoreHero, making sure that the new customer revenue is increasing or new customer ROAS is staying within KPIs. If as long as they're staying in KPIs, there's nothing too much to worry about. Some clients we've seen that the KPIs haven't been the best, so we have to just pull back a little bit of spend on Meta because obviously Meta's just not doing what we want it to do, and that's just like I said, just keep testing, find what works, put more spend behind what works, and then just kill off the things that aren't working. But the good news is, I think everyone's in the same boat. So it's not like it's just one ad account that's getting affected. If you go on Twitter, Reddit, you see a lot of people complaining about performance. So I guess that's the good news, that it's not just your ad account that's getting affected. It's a lot of people.
D2C Twitter has certainly been hot in the last month with people giving out about Meta for sure. You're not the only one seeing that.
Even lead gen as well got affected. So it's not even just D2C.
Really, yeah.
Lead generations got affected. Even though Meta smashed Q1 earnings, but I think it's not just e-com, it's lead gen's got affected. I just think Facebook's just doing Facebook things, as they say.
Has Facebook got better as a whole in the last 12 months, or has it got worse? Out of your curiosity.
I would say last year, I would say that the Q4, I guess it's very difficult to say because Q4 is the buying season, but Q4 was less headaches than Q1 of this year. In terms of last year, I would say last year's easier, but we have to factor in inflation, redundancies, people spending, like, COVID's gone now, so people spending money elsewhere, not just always online. So I think you just have to factor all of these in. But I just think I think there's been a few delivery issues on Meta, but I just think overall, we're back to normal life, I guess. So I guess then, but we got back to normal life with inflation, people with less money, probably making it a bit longer to make buying decisions. There's less free cash from like stimulus and furlough, etc., like that. So I just think everything just plays a part. I know people are blaming Tamu, however you call it, as well, but like end of the day, like they're just selling cheap products. If you're having a high AOV, it shouldn't really affect you too much as a brand. But yeah, I just think this Q1 has been difficult as an agency. I'll admit it. I know some agencies won't admit it. I just think Q1's had its ups and downs, and it's always going to happen in business. You're always going to have ups and downs, and it's just unfortunate Q1 with delivery issues, etc., going on. But like I said, it always just comes down to psychology and making sure you just resonate to your customers' desires.
It's an interesting point as well, though. I think, like, yes, Meta have had issues, but Meta is such a, like, with the amount of businesses now advertising on Meta, it's like the broadest data set probably in the world in terms of, I suppose, a confidence in consumer spending in general. You know, it might not be that there's a Meta issue this week. It could just be that, you know, globally people are feeling the pinch, and as a result of everybody gauging the success of their business on Meta ads, Meta naturally sees a dip. It might not necessarily be anything Meta are doing wrong, just a broader indication of actually what's going on around the world. So I think such an interesting point.
I agree with that. UK payday last week, all clients' performance skyrocketed. We did nothing apart from testing your ads, but performance increased, and that's because payday came. Everyone had a bit more cash to go and spend and treat themselves. So yeah, I definitely think everything's just playing a part. I just think people feeling a pinch because payday came and all UK clients saw a massive uptick. So I just think, like I said, everything's just playing a part.
It's directly correlated with everyone's inbox getting spammed on payday from every merchant they've ever bought from.
Yeah. But even ads though, like one of our clients went from a 3 to a 10x without even changing anything.
Wow.
Literally one day on payday, on Wednesday to Thursday, just a massive uptick. We did nothing as an agency, just payday came.
Wow. Interesting. So interesting. Okay, so let's say you get a client on board. Personally, I think the onboarding for a lot of like larger traditional agencies is fundamentally broken when you're trying to say that the agency has the client's best interest at heart. I think the onboarding for a successful relationship between a brand and an agency is almost the most important part of whether the agency relationship is going to be a long-term one or a short-term one. And I think so many, particularly larger traditional agencies, miss the boat in really getting to understand their clients. They come in and promise 10x ROAS without really taking the time to fundamentally actually understand the core unit economics of the business, what the growth goals are, inventory levels, cash positions, all that kind of thing. Talk me through kind of, I suppose, how you initially would broach a new conversation like that with a client.
So our process is we'll have a quick quick call. I basically I want to understand your problems, your goals. Basically, that's the main important thing. Is we then do an audit for the potential client where we just go through the ad account, Shopify, Klaviyo, and we just look at where the problems are, and that basically helps us understand. Okay, if we're going to sign you on, this is the game plan. The second call of the client is normally walking them through the game plan with our customer generation system on what we're going to do to grow them. Once they are signed on, we basically have a call where we go through the numbers. We want to understand your numbers in terms of, depending on how many SKUs you have, a product unit economics, or a category unit economics, and then like a whole store, like the whole website unit economics. We want to understand your numbers. The most important thing is because we need to know what is profitable and what isn't profitable when testing and looking at the data on the back end on StoreHero, etc. So we will really sit down with the client and really just try to understand all the numbers, break all those numbers out, and really just try to understand everything. So when we focus on ads, for example, we can make sure that we have different KPIs set out for different categories. Because a t-shirt ROAS or new customer ROAS is going to be very different to a hoodie ROAS, or if you're selling a beauty product, you may have a higher AOV beauty product, which has a different ROAS. Oh, Facebook's calling me. Let me just decline that. They always call Facebook. They're literally always calling. But yeah, like if you're a beauty brand, you may have a higher AOV product, which has a different margins to a lower AOV product. So we're always trying to break things out on Facebook, Google, Pinterest, TikTok, to making sure we have all the right categories for each client. And it just comes down to just then making sure that we're running ads, we're hitting the KPIs inside of ad platform, but also making sure we're hitting the business goals using StoreHeroes. Are we pumping in new enough customers? Are we hitting new customer CPAs, ROAS, revenue goals? Is the lifetime value of those customers after a month, 2 months increasing with them? I think the issue is a lot of brands see the big agencies as the holy grail, but I actually always think the more boutique, smaller agencies are better, because any client that's we work with is basically feeding me and my team, and we care about them because at the end of the day, you're paying us, you're giving us the money, we use that money to live. And I think when it's a smaller boutique agency, like I care. Like the other day, we had a client message us on Saturday evening if they wanted to change a few things on the ads, and we did it for them. But that's because we care, and I wasn't doing anything. And it's just end of the day. I think e-commerce is 24/7. Like sometimes you just gotta make tweaks, and that's because we care. If they're working with a bigger agency, I just don't think that would happen. All of our clients as well, we have a Slack communication, so it's always daily, weekly, monthly communication. And like I said, we always update our clients on a weekly basis on the results that we're getting them. And we always mention ad platform results, and we always mention business results. So we're always making sure we're always talking about the goal of, hey, look, we've had this many new customers come in today. This is the new customer ROAS, etc. So it's a long-winded process. Again, I think we can get clients' ads up and running within 24 hours because sometimes a lot of clients are burning cash. So we just fix that, and then we sit on the call, go through all the numbers, understand their messaging, then start creating ads, and then that's how we basically grow our clients. If we have the messaging numbers, and it just comes down to just keep testing, tweaking, and scaling.
Okay, a couple of bits I want to dig into there. So, I mean, so a client comes to you. Okay, I suppose a better way of putting this, how many times do a client give you their gross margins, which you then go and build out your kind of break-even ROAS and your target ROAS and target CPAs on? You go and hit them, they come back to you and say, we've lost loads of money, which I'm sure happens, but you've done your job. You've hit the CPAs and the ROAS targets that you were aiming for. And what actually happened, because I mean, I see this all the time with StoreHero clients. Day one, we do our onboarding and we say, okay, what's your gross margin? We want to help you kind of just make sure you're getting full value out of the platform. They might tell us 50, 60%. But by the time we actually go ahead and enter in, 3PL costs, return costs, shipping costs, there's tons of other, and then not even taking into account all of the extra discounts that they might have advertised on the website that they're not factoring into their cost of goods or their actual gross margins. And I mean, the 60% gross margin could actually end up, in some cases, I've seen it go down to 30 from 60. And fundamentally, that's a completely different business. How often does it happen when a brand comes to you and their margins are nowhere near what they think they are? And is that an education piece that you guys need to go through? Because, starting off that agency brand relationship, a fundamental and being very, very clear on what the clear gross margins are obviously incredibly important for you to understand as you go to help them maximize revenue growth and do so profitably.
Sorry, Facebook just called me again. Honestly, they're always calling. You put this in the podcast, how many times they'll call us too so far. But the biggest thing I've seen...
They're listening to us.
They're listening, but I think the biggest thing is brands that are doing under 500k per month. We've always found that they don't know all their numbers. The smaller brands sometimes don't know everything. So it's always a bit of a educational piece. We have like a Google sheet where we have all the numbers that we ask the clients to enter the information, and sometimes they're missing that information, or I get back to you, I'm not too sure, and it just makes our lives a bit difficult because we want to be 100% accurate, but 90% accurate can be okay. But like you said, there may be that 90% accurate, there may be that 10%, which is a big difference that causes a lot of issues in terms of profitability. So it's an educational piece. I think that something would be great if there's something more out there, was like an e-commerce accountant. I think that's something I think a lot of brands need, because we're an agency, we're focused on paid ads. We're not, end of the day, we're not an accounting firm. I've learned from my own business and trying to help other clients the important numbers, but I can't extract it from them because I don't have access to their QuickBooks or anything like that. So it's very much an educational piece.
Nor do you want it.
This is what I need, but yeah, I think the biggest thing is this very educational piece. We try to make sure we're like 90% accurate, because at the end of the day, sometimes UK clients are always a bit more difficult because they don't want the agency to see their numbers, and I think that's always the bit.
Which is nuts.
It's nuts because at the end of the day, like, I don't care how much profit you're making, you're paying us for a service, and I think that's the most important thing. Like, if I saw you making 100k profit, great, I know I'm doing a good job for you. Like, I just think Americans, I think the reason why we like working with American brands is because they're very open. They like being aggressive.
Yeah.
They're like, here's my numbers, here's everything. I just want to hit this profit next month, or my profit goal for this quarter or year is this. Here's all the information. And it makes our lives easier plugging everything in. So yeah, I just think a lot of brands just need more education. I think there should be more educational pieces out there, and I think that would really help brands.
I mean, and again, I see this too, where brands won't give the agency their own costs, and I mean, it's fundamentally so much short-term thinking, really, because you're outsourcing your marketing, which in a lot of cases is often the heaviest line of the whole P&L, to this outside company who are vested in your success, yet you're not giving them any of the cost of your fulfillment of all of the revenue they're about to generate. Without that key component, you don't know if the brand is operating on a 20% margin or a 70% margin. And then as the person who's in charge of the marketing and helping the business grow, you really cannot be in a really strong position to help to educate the business on how aggressive they could be. And it baffles me when that situation is there. And then often you'll have a brand going back to an agency where, they're complaining about results. But if you're not giving the agency the cost of your products, how can they really actually determine whether the campaigns are truly successful or not? Because again, I see this all the time, and I'm sure you do too, where a brand will come to an agency and say, look, we need to spend only at a 5 ROAS or 5 MER, and as soon as we go below that, we can't spend any more. And you'd like to think that that number has been heavily calculated, and there's a thought and a logic behind it, but there usually isn't, to be completely honest with you. Particularly as you're dealing with smaller brands, usually it's a number that the founder has picked out of the sky, and it's probably there as a result of, you kind of mentioned at the start, COVID. Brands were hitting incredible ROAS numbers for years. Now they've taken a hit. Now the founder has decided, we're going to spend at this ROAS because this is what we're used to. And it's not really grounded in any logic, or not logic, but it is grounded in logic. But, there's a game to be played between being overly efficient. Everybody wants to be as efficient as possible, but there's a game to be played and a balance to be struck, I think, between being overly efficient or taking less efficiency at a much higher volume. And if you're really trying to grow a profitable business, high ROAS is not always the best way to do that. And that's kind of often a real hard thing for brands to fully understand and actually, buy into, I suppose.
Yeah, so one thing we do is we always record the call with the client when we're going through their numbers, because we always make sure that they agree that they're happy. So that when we're down the line and they say, oh, I'm not happy with 4x, you can go back to this call and say, well, this is everything that we did. This is everything we agreed on. So that's something that we do to help with the scope of work or the numbers of work increasing. The other thing as well is we always have a quarterly call with our clients to go through these numbers, just to double check and to make sure there's profit in the back end. So I think that's another way how agencies or brands should be doing it. It's just making sure that they're looking at the numbers. I say daily, but quarterly, to make sure that everything's moving in the right direction. Yep, it's a difficult one. I just think it's just that I'm looking into it to see how we can educate more on that side. So I think you agree. The issue is, since ISO 14, brands haven't looked in their margins. They're still back in the good old days of before ISO 14. Your business potentially could have got away with not the best margins, because retargeting and marketing was so cheap. You could have got away with the smaller margins. But as soon as ISO 14 happened, it all came about efficiency and improving your margins to make sure you have that runway of, if things go bad for a few months, you can still be making profit, just about less profit than the good months.
Big time. One thing you touched on there, which I'd also love to kind of hear your take on, was, I suppose, quarterly you guys look at all the numbers, but you kind of mentioned the distinction between, and again, I think this is where boutique agencies who are focused on like really having the client's interest at heart will surpass the more traditional larger agencies, because you can be nimble and you can operate in this way. But you kind of mentioned, I suppose, looking at the distinction between ad platform results and business results. And I think the flaw with a lot of agencies, what I've seen, is ad platform results are the results, and they often don't, circle back or don't relate to the overall kind of financial objectives of the business.
So yeah, we basically, when we're optimizing clients' accounts, we will look at so we have a tracking sheet. So we track everything that we do in terms of any changes we make. We then look inside the ad platform, and then we'll look at like Triple L, StoreHero, any tool that clients use, but mainly we use StoreHero. And we will just basically look at the last 7 days. Okay, we increased spend on Monday and revenue's been going up and ROAS has stayed the same. Great, we're being efficient. So that basically means we're hitting the business goals. Or we can look, we say, oh, we increase ad spend on Monday and the revenue's been declining and the ROAS has been declining. That basically, we know that the changes that we made on Monday weren't efficient. So we can keep monitoring. So we always look on the last 14, 7, and 3 days to see the graphs or trajectory of what's happening. Is it going up? Is it staying stable? Or is it going down? Because that allows us then to make changes for the business result, not just an ad result. That's the most important. Is making sure we're hitting the business goals. Because our goal as an agency is to focus on new customers for our clients as efficiently as we can. That's by using paid ads, creatives, and landing pages. And if we're doing the emails, making sure we're maximizing those lifetime value of those people. But yeah, like I said, we always look on the last 14, 7, and 3 days. We want to basically see a straight line or an upward tick line, basically.
Up and to the right.
Up to the right.
Fantastic, good stuff. Yeah, I mean, so interesting. There's so many different. It's a hard industry to work in these days because there's so much different angles to weigh and slice and dice the exact same data today. It's really hard to actually land on singular KPIs to really determine success of a business. And I think what you kind of mentioned there around the increase in ad spend and how that maps to revenue, and then also I suppose really trying to get to, I suppose, daily contribution margin as that indicator of success. Has the extra ad spend been worth it for the business? Is just so important. Okay, so you kind of mentioned before we came on, like you guys tend to look at new customer ROAS, new customer LTV, AOV. Be interested to kind of hear your thoughts on how you might go about looking at that with a client.
So normally we look at this with clients when we first sign them up. We will plug them into StoreHero. We'll get the StoreHero to get the data, and then we'll just start analyzing the data and see what the new customer NCPA is, the new customer ROAS, the new customer average order value. We'll look at the conversion rate, etc. And then we have tons of spreadsheets where we can start modeling what would happen if X scenario happened. So we put all the data in, ad spend, their margins, their new customer AOV, the lifetime value of a new customer. We normally do that in a 3-month period because a lot can change.
Yeah.
And that gives us a forecast modeling of, we can change in terms of ad spend or new customer ROAS or new customer AOV. So we then start playing around with that and start saying, okay, well, look, at the moment you're spending 100,000 a month on ads. You're sitting at 2x new customer ROAS. Your average order value right now is 80, and then your lifetime value for new customers after 3 months is 120. We then start plugging it in, and we can then start analyzing, okay, what's the best course of action to try and get you to 150,000 in spend next month? What does those metrics look like? How much revenue you're going to generate, and how much revenue you're going to generate 3 months later from the customers you acquired? So this then basically, we do this monthly with the clients because they always want to try and scale depending on inventory and stuff. Then we sit down every single month and we just plug the same numbers in. Or it may change from the work that the new customer AOV may go up. Every single month, we'll plug those numbers back in and start modeling for next month or the next 3 months and saying, okay, well, let's try and keep ad spend the same, but let's see how we can improve the new customer ROAS by implementing new ad creatives, and offer or a landing page, and to keep the spend. So it's very much hands-on because it's changing monthly. So that's what we do, is we always just forecast monthly. Sometimes we try and forecast for 3 months. Okay, let's try and spend this month, then hit these targets next month, and then the third month try and hit these targets.
Nice. I mean, yeah, a forecast is only a forecast. It's always going to be wrong, but you're trying to look for, map out the 20 KPIs, not just top line revenue and ad spend, but, your gross margin, number of new customers, new customer efficiency, all the way down to AOV, total number of orders, blah, blah, blah. It's about, mapping against the forecast, where were the positive and the negative indicators, and almost that's your homework to work on for the next couple of months or the next month or whatever the kind of time frame is going to be. So yeah, I think that's so important. It's just, you're just getting way more, you're getting really into the detail there, which is just so important. And I just think way more brands need to kind of get into that frame of thinking, as opposed to just measuring everything from a ROAS target on a campaign level, which I'm still shocked, to be honest with you, to see the amount of brands and agencies, to be honest with you, that are still just using campaign level ROAS as the primary gauge of success for the agency client relationship, which is just nuts, in my opinion.
I think it comes down to education.
Yeah.
Like, I started learning about ads in 2016, 2017, and no one ever used to speak about contribution margin. It's always, what's your cost per lead, what's your cost per sale, and what's the ROAS. I think it's like, even I've always looked at traffic though as like ad platforms as just a driving factor, as a mechanism to get what I want in terms of business results. So I've always tried to look, okay, we spent 10,000, but how much do we make in profit for our clients? I think that's something that's really important. Back in the days, my old agency, we used to work at a lot of estate agents. They used to focus on the cost per lead. But I was saying to the clients, like, they're spending money on ads. We want to know how much they're actually generating in terms of actual sales, because otherwise you're going to say to the client, oh, we've got you 10 leads, but they're going to go, well, those 10 leads only got me 0 sales that month. So I've always been interested, but I just think it's just the educational piece is missing out there. I think ROAS is easy to understand. It's how much you spent and how much you generated back. And I think a lot of people just don't like the numbers side of business. And I think if you're in e-commerce and you want to be growing, you need to start liking numbers, and you need to start liking all the different numbers, because all those different numbers have a big play in actual business growth. So I think we need more educational pieces out there. I just think ROAS is an easy, 5x ROAS. I mean, people think it's good. Because I get slated on ads the other day saying we got a client at 2x ROAS on ads. It's profitable for them. But people say that's a terrible ROAS. And it's like, well, you clearly don't understand that their break even is a 1.5 and they're happy to sit at a 2x. So it's just like, yeah, I just think educational piece is missing for brands, agencies out there. I think we hopefully StoreHero, I know you're doing a good job, starts pumping out more content, educating brands out there to say like, hey, ROAS doesn't mean much in terms of business growth. And if you really want to understand business growth, these are your these are the 6 KPIs that you need to focus on. And I think that will help brands. But I think as a tool like StoreHero is doing, you're really trying to help brands understand their business metrics so they can actually survive. Because like you said, the most important thing is survivability, and that's having good cash flow and making sure you're making profit to reinvest back into that business, to buy new stock, buy more ads, and to keep growing.
Yeah, so interesting. And to your point there, like, somebody slating you for you getting a 2x ROAS on a brand and just using that bit of information as the sole indicator whether you've been successful or not is just somebody who does not know what they're talking about, because that brand could have 70-80% gross margins and a 2x ROAS is perfect. That business is going to kill it. And then like we were working with a brand recently and they only had like 10%. They resold basically iPhones, I think it was. But they needed like an 8.5x ROAS to break even. So, I mean, you take, like, that's a really high bar to meet, and obviously really, really difficult. But I mean, you take those two brands and just picking a random ROAS figure or telling someone that they're doing a great or a terrible job based on a ROAS figure without truly understanding the gross margin underneath or underpinning the business as a whole, you're not really understanding much about that business unless you really have that information and where the break-even points actually are, which is so important. Just before we jumped on there, Tom, one other kind of, I suppose, ad platform that you kind of mentioned that you guys tend to work quite closely with, and one I don't see enough of, to be honest with you, is Pinterest. It'd be interesting just to kind of get you to chat through that for a couple of minutes.
Sure, Pinterest is a good platform if you are selling mainly to women. I think Pinterest is like 70 or 80% dominated by women who are 25 plus. So we've used a lot of female fashion brands on Pinterest because a lot of women go on Pinterest for outfit ideas. So it's just a platform for diversification. I know TikTok is not always the best platform for high average order value fashion, but Pinterest is a great platform. These people are sophisticated, they have the budget. A lot of people going on Pinterest for looking at like house ideas, renovations, wedding ideas. So they have the disposable income. I would say if anyone starts with Pinterest, you need to give yourself a 3-month budget. Pinterest is we've always found it's a very slow burner to get it going. Like month 1 and 2 with a new client you get on aren't always the best, but some reason month 3, 4, 5, and 6, it just kills it. Like I think last year a client spent about 100,000 on Pinterest, and don't kill me, I'm about to say a ROAS, but they were achieving a 5x ROAS. For them, their break-even ROAS is a 2.5. So, but on the back end, results were good. So, but yeah, they are sitting at 5x ROAS pretty much all year round. And I think it's a platform that if you're a female fashion brand, you should definitely try and look at Pinterest if you're looking to diversify. And I don't know how true it was, but our Pinterest rep said that more people were inclined to see adverts on Pinterest than they were for like Meta. So it was interesting that people were more acceptive to see ads. So I think that's a benefit if we're running ads. But Pinterest is good. It's good for retargeting. I know people have slate retargeting, but we do retargeting. We do top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of the funnel on Pinterest. I know some people may slate me, but we see it work extremely well for our clients, and it's something that all fashion brands should be doing. Even £100 a day, a week, if you want to, low budget. But I think it's a good platform if you want to diversify. You're selling to females and you are looking to diversify platform. Great platform. The other thing as well, it helps you to build your email list. I can't remember correctly all the data, but we had a separate pop-up for Pinterest traffic, and the pop-up sign-up rate was better than just overall website. So
Wow, interesting, really interesting. That's never really think of that. In terms of, I'm just going to dig into it a little bit more. Does it perform better for your UK clients or your US clients? And I suppose second thing would be obviously the creative burn, like if you're on TikTok, obviously the level of creative production that needs to go into maintain their paid ads on TikTok is much more than it would be on Meta or even Instagram, for instance. How does Pinterest stack up in terms of the amount of creatives that you need to be kind of changing or adding on a weekly, monthly basis?
So Pinterest, it works well for UK and US. I think it's the same demographic, like they're women looking for outfit ideas, they're aspirational, influential, they want to see like house design. So I think in terms of client results, it's always been the same. In terms of creatives, it's more like Meta. It's less creative heavy than TikTok. So
Yeah.
if you don't have the creative process dialed in your business, you can probably get away with uploading 5 new ads a week into Pinterest and seeing what works and what doesn't work. Like, it's the best thing about Pinterest is very lifestyle photos work the best that we see. So the good thing about fashion brands is they're taking a lot of photos. It's just lifestyle we normally take a lifestyle image with say like dress or handbag or jeans or jacket. Like, we just see like nice text saying what it is, really simple. It's worked the best. We've seen videos work well, like try on haul videos. And then the other thing as well that's worked well on Pinterest is catalog ads.
Nice.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. You was frozen for a second, but you're back.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Tom, we'll probably leave it there for today. If people are looking to kind of get in contact with you, where can they find you?
Best place is on LinkedIn. Just search Tom Rozee, ROZEE, or go to roseedigital.com and then fill out the form and book a call, and they can speak to me or drop me a message on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. I'm pretty much active on all socials, but if you're an e-commerce brand, best place to go is to the website, check out case studies, reviews, etc. It's a great interview on our website as well. And then, just fill out the form, and happy to help anyone grow, really.
Perfect. Tom, Rozee, thank you very much for joining us today. Great to have you on board.
Thank you very much.